Hello, Mindset Recovery friends. It's Roberto. It has been quite a while since my last video. Um, Good things have happened, bad things have happened. Unfortunately, I still have not been able to achieve permanent sobriety or put together any length of days. But I have been getting some great insights into my reasons behind that, the program, and one of my New Year's, I hate to say New Year's resolutions because many years ago I failed so many times with making New Year's resolutions that I used to joke around and say my New Year's resolution was not to make any more New Year's resolutions. So it's not really a New Year's resolution, but my previous sponsor in AA had suggested that I come up with some goals for 2022. And so one of the goals was step 11, which is to maintain conscious contact with your higher power through prayer and meditation. Just something that I have been doing. I've been doing that for many years, but especially since I have been back in recovery for the last 2 years and trying to work the program of AA, that is something that I have been doing. But I've really been concentrating hard on it. And honestly, it's going to sound kind of crazy, but if you're born again Christian and you know about speaking in tongues, I was, I believe that that's a thing. I believe that's your spirit speaking to God's spirit. I want for this channel to get too religious or preachy because I don't want to run people off that aren't comfortable with that. But for me, that's something that I believe in. I've had people and preachers and stuff try to get me to practice that on a regular basis, and I just haven't really been down with it. It hasn't been my thing. But two evangelical preachers that I really respect had talked about that and how it strengthens our bodies and how it gets us on a deeper level with the Holy Spirit, which is what I believe is the underlying effective thing in AA that helps us change, is that we maintain a conscious contact with our higher power, whatever we believe that it is. Obviously, I believe that it's God, and that inner inside us gives us the strength to live the life that we need to do, and it changes our character. And that I know that in and of myself, I've proven over the last many decades that I am not capable of stopping using or drinking, which, are basically drinking is using alcohol, but I haven't been able to stay clean from any substances on my own power. So I need all the help I can get. And I'm, in step 1, I'm admitting that I'm powerless over alcohol and that my life has become unmanageable. And step 2, I'm open to the possibility that there is something that is more powerful than myself, and that if I submit to that power and admit that it exists and nurture the relationship with that power, that it will give me that power that I do not possess to stay clean and sober and live a life that's useful instead of just taking from society. I can give back and help people. And that leads me to one of my other resolutions or goals for 2022. And that's step 12. And that's having had a spiritual awakening as the result of the previous 11 steps, that we try to give back something that we've gained by helping other people. And that's kind of what this is with this channel. It's putting out information there and allowing people to have access to something that they may not normally have access to and help people. but I mean, normally in the program, people aren't, maybe making videos or blogging or anything. They're just available to be sponsors, which a sponsor is somebody that has been that's had clean time and is willing to help a newcomer who's struggling learn how to work the program of AA and be available to them if they're having problems and they need to talk to somebody. And I'm willing to do that, but unfortunately, I haven't been able to string together enough 24 hours. My old sponsor said to me, you can't give away what you don't have. So I mean, I can't say to people, yeah, man, I go like 30 days without using it and then I blow it consistently. Nobody wants that. I mean, I can still, it says no matter how far down the scale, we realize that our experience can help other people. So I mean, I can talk to people who are struggling and tell them not to give up and that my life is way better than it used to be, but I clearly do not have the answer to, staying clean for a year or 2 years or whatever. So one thing that I did was I realized that my sponsor, he's a great guy. He's a wealth of information and he cares about me, but he has too much going on in his life to be able to help me consistently. I mean, he's available to me if I make a date to meet with him and we sit down and have coffee. He like I said, he's a wealth of information. But I mean, he owns his own business. He's newly married. They got a baby. He's got, he had from a previous relationship, he has a young, well, tween age child, that he's dealing with. So, I mean, I understand he's really active in the program. I'm sure he's got other sponsees besides me. I'm consider myself to be pretty needy. And he hasn't been available to me in the measure that I need somebody to be available to me because I'm new and I struggle and I'm a knucklehead. So I decided to find another sponsor. So I found this guy that goes to meetings that's got lots of sobriety. And I talked to him and I was honest with him about my situation. But when I told him that, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't struggle with alcohol because I do. But what I found at this point in my recovery is that I don't crave alcohol the way that I used to because I have spent a lot of time not using it, and it doesn't do for me what my brain wants. My addiction, I mean, I was using it at the end when I was still in active alcoholism before I had my stroke, pretty much just to check out because, I wasn't happy with my life and my excuse was to help me sleep at night. But really it was just oblivion. I just didn't want to feel. I wasn't happy and I could come home and I could watch TV and get drunk and go to bed and I didn't give a damn about anything. I wasn't worried about anything. But the problem was that what my brain really wanted, the oomph that it wanted was drugs. So when I would get drunk, then my self-control would be completely out the window and then I'd be going to find drugs. And so that was more dangerous to me. Yes, it was dangerous that it wasn't good for me to drink. It was dangerous that I was driving because I thought that I could drink and drive because, I did it for so many years. I can't really say successfully, but without, major negative impact. I didn't have DUIs, didn't get hurt, didn't hurt other people. So, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm good at driving drunk. I mean, maybe I was better than other people driving drunk, but I don't think anyone's good at driving drunk, and it's definitely a bad idea. And you talk to people who have had DUIs, and I know people who are hardcore drinkers that just refuse to drink and drive because they know that it's stupid. And I just could never make that connection in my mind. I'm like, I'll be fine, and I would do it, and then I would the next time I wanted to do it, I'd be like, yeah, well, I was fine last time. Clearly I can do this. And, that's the kind of thinking that the enemy eventually uses to take you out, because you're being foolhardy. I was definitely being foolhardy. But anyway, I talked to that new sponsor guy and told him that I'm struggling with other substances. And he didn't blow me off, but he suggested that I get a sponsor in the Narcotics Anonymous program, because he said you can't have too much help. And so I have a friend who I suspect that he got involved in NA because he got in trouble, because I know that he had some legal issues, and he said that he had to go to NA. And my personal situation is I don't have to go anywhere. I've been going to AA because I want to quit drinking and using, and I have some experience with AA over the last 30 years. And even though I haven't effectively been able to learn how to work the program properly, I know that it is probably the only, because one of the things it says in AA is we realize that probably no human power could relieve our alcoholism. Well, I know that human power, maybe if I got locked up in a room somewhere and was deprived the opportunity to drink or do drugs, that's not going to relieve me of my alcoholism, but it's definitely going to relieve me of the symptom of acting out by using, because I don't have access to it. But what they're talking about is that if you get that relationship with your higher power, that relieves you of the obsession of wanting to check out, make myself feel better, not hurt anymore, whatever it is, because you have that relationship with your creator that you were designed to have. And in my experience, that's what was missing in my life. And if you restore that relationship to where it's supposed to be, then you're getting what it is that you want, and you're not needing to put other substances in your body to try to take away the pain of not having that relationship. And that's like the cliff notes on 12-step programs. You got to learn that being in the program for a while. At any rate, so what happened was I started going with my friend to NA, and I realized that I feel a lot more comfortable in that program. And it might be because, so many of the people in the AA program around here have a lot of sobriety, and, I just don't relate with them as well as I do these people that are going to NA. They're hurting. They don't have a whole lot of sobriety, some of them, and they're fresh off the streets, and they've been struggling hardcore with drugs and almost dying, and maybe ODing, and losing their kids and not having a job and being homeless. Now, thank God that I have not had those experiences, but I know that it's not because I'm any better than they are. I'm just blessed that, I have moderated enough during my active addictive years that I haven't lost my house. I haven't lost my kid. I haven't, died. Of course, I did have a stroke, and it wasn't as a direct result of using. It's not like I overdosed and had a stroke. But what it is what I believe happened was, I was living that lifestyle where I was miserable, and I was getting drunk, and then I was going out to the bar and getting drugs. And so I was staying up all night partying, and then I had to go to work the next day. So then I needed a little something to get me to get to work and get through the day. When you get to be my age, 50, in your 50s, my body just couldn't handle that for a long period of time. And it finally just, put up the white flag. It was like, if you're not going to chill out, man, then I will take care of that decision for you. And so I ended up having a stroke, scared the hell out of me, went in the hospital, came out, have a tremor in my left arm. I was a chef. Can't do that kind of work anymore because I'm only got one hand. I don't know if you're familiar with food service, but you have to be able to stand for long periods of time, do a lot of walking, do heavy lifting, and you need both your hands. Well, I was taken out of the game, basically, in my situation. So, by the grace of God, I have a job. I don't make enough money to pay my bills. I'm trying to get disability, but in the meantime, I'm working part-time, doing what I can. God's keeping me afloat. I believe that he's going to bless me. I mean, I don't know how. I'm hoping that I get disability and all the back pay. But one thing that I've learned in recovery is that God never does anything the way that I think he's going to. All he wants me to do is trust him and know that he's going to supply all my needs. So what he's been doing in this storm, this shit storm that I've been in for the last 2 years, is teaching me. And one thing, and I guess the whole point of this video was supposed to be summed up in, my mindset has been, hey, over the last many years, all I ever wanted to do was just be able to use like people who weren't addicted. And if I could just party on the weekends, or if I could just, party once a month, then that would be my goal. And so now when I got into recovery, my goal was in my head to abstain. I need to get to a point where I don't need drugs or alcohol to function. Because I was not in control. My life was unmanageable. I knew that. I couldn't deny that. Here I had a stroke. I couldn't work. And I was still drinking and taking Ubers up to the bar to get drugs and spending money that I didn't have, basically living on credit to do drugs. I'm intelligent enough to know that that's not a long-term sustainable situation, but yet I couldn't stop. Plus I'd had a stroke from using, and I was still using. So that's telling me, okay, obviously you're out of control, man. You're powerless over this, man. It's going to kill you. It almost killed you. And yet you're still fooling around with it. You can't do this, man. I had to admit that. But what happened is, I got into recovery. I had to take drug tests, I had to take breathalyzer tests, even when you take piss tests, they can still see that you drank alcohol. So I had accountability, and I had to put together some time of sobriety. But then what would happen is I'd go getting ready to get my 30-day chip, and I'd be like, hey, look at me. I did my goal here. I haven't done anything that I shouldn't be doing for 30 days. I'm doing a lot better. I'm losing weight. I'm getting healthy. So, I always had, my using was always centered around rewarding myself. Hey, I worked hard all day and I didn't get high at work. So I'm off work. I can get drunk now because I deserve it. I earned this. That's your disease telling you, or for me, that was my disease. Just wants to kill you. It's going to tell you whatever it can do to get you. Because then once I get drunk, then, all bets are off. Oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you go drive around? Why don't you do this drug that will kill you? Oh, that sounds like a great idea because I'm loaded now. At least for me, that's how my disease, it's insidious. It's cunning, baffling, powerful is what they say in the program. So anyway, this is the thing. I feel like God gave me a vision. My higher power, God, gave me a vision while I was still in outpatient rehab that I'm supposed to have a ministry, a recovery ministry. And I was getting frustrated by not being able to make that happen at the time. So that's one of the motivations for this channel. But I believe that that's something that God wants to do with me. So I had an epiphany because here I picked up a white chip. It's been 6 days, and now I'm getting ready to get my tax return back. And my disease is already whispering to me that, hey, man, you get 30 days, pick up a 30-day chip and impress your new sponsor, whatever. I mean, not exact words, but then you get that money and, you can pay off some bills and then, hey, you can do a little bit of drugs and it'll be all right. And friends of mine in the program that I'm trying to learn to get honest with, and I tell them that I'm having these thoughts, you things that do not sound completely, utterly insane to me, to my friends, they're like, hey, man, you almost died of a stroke, man. There's a lot of people dying of overdoses right now because, drug dealers and cartels are putting a lot of trash in drugs and they don't care about people. And it was in the newspaper, a bunch of people died. I mean, because I understand heroin. I can understand why people would cut heroin with fentanyl because fentanyl is, it's an opiate. And so it would make the heroin stronger. But cartels and people that don't care about their customers, they're putting fentanyl in other drugs. And so people are trying to, snort some cocaine or something, and they're having they're ODing, their body's shutting down. My cousin, who I wasn't close with, but he lived up in Pennsylvania. He was doing heroin, my understanding, for several years, and he had OD'd on heroin with fentanyl in it a few times and almost died, but did not die. Well, just recently, about a month ago, he was in the hospital on life support, and all of his internal organs were shutting down, and then they just had to unplug him, and now he's gone. Well, and then my addiction says, well, you're not shooting up heroin, man, you'll be fine. But my friends in the program are saying, dude, man, you're being stupid. You might not make it back this time. So for them, it's an open and shut case. Just say no and don't use no matter what. And my addiction saying one more time. But see, that's even in the NA literature. We get stuck in a pattern of one more time. And it's always the last time for me. It's been the last time for me hundreds of times. So clearly it hasn't been the last time. So what I have decided is that, because I do believe that there's an enemy of my soul, and the Bible says we don't fight against flesh and blood. So even if a person is coming against you, and your boss or your significant other or somebody that is attacking you verbally, physically, whatever, that person is not the one that's attacking you. Behind them is a spiritual force that wants to kill you. And I know that sounds totally and utterly insane to a lot of people, but it is reality. It's taken me years to see it. But anyway, coming back to what I was talking about. So if I truly believe that my higher power has told me that I'm supposed to be in recovery and help all these people, there is a stumbling block to that. I can't be picking up every 30 days and then, have a ministry of talking to people about getting clean from drugs and alcohol. That's not going to work. So I was thinking is, if the enemy can't kill me, which if he can keep getting in my head and get me to just one more time it, then it is possible that he can kill me. But let's just say that by the grace of God, I keep using every month or whatever. I'm going to be doing a lot better. I'm learning a lot about myself in recovery. My relationship with my son is way better. Financially, I'm doing a lot better. But how am I going to get the word out to people? How can I give away what I don't have, like my old sponsor said? And so it finally clicked in my head last night on my way home from a meeting that is his strategy. It's been a very effective strategy for him. He's hobbling me from being a weapon against against drugs and alcohol by keeping me chained to that addiction. And so, I just want God to just like reach down with a magic wand and just zap me and make me not want to do it anymore. And clearly, that is not his plan. And it talks about in the Bible where, and I think that for a reason, it doesn't tell you what the exact situation was because it wanted you to be able to relate with it yourself without having the same exact problem. But Paul, who wrote the vast majority of the New Testament, he said that, his ego was getting big and that God gave him a thorn in his side to keep him humble. And he prayed 3 times for God to take it away. And God told him that his grace was sufficient and he didn't take it away, but it was to keep him humble. So, addiction, unfortunately, is the thorn in my side. And I obviously don't have the power to defeat it. But, with the help of my higher power and submitting to him and staying in this program and reaching out to the people around me, I will be victorious over this issue. And when I get to the point where I have, some sobriety, I believe that God is going to give me the opportunity to be a voice to people. I don't know whether he'll steer people to these videos or whether my church will start having a recovery ministry. I mean, who knows? I don't know. The possibilities are endless, especially, with my higher power getting involved. He can do whatever he wants. But what I do know is I can't do it by myself, but I can totally screw it up all by myself. And if I keep succumbing to one more time and every 30 days and I'm doing good and I need a reward, that is going to destroy my testimony. And so I have made up my mind, 6 days in, God willing, and the creek don't rise, that I'm going to stay clean today. Had a lady pick up a 15-year chip yesterday at an NA meeting, and they asked her how she did it, and she said 1 day at a time. And I knew she was going to say that, and it kind of irritated me because that's not what I wanted to hear. But it is the reality of it. And if I can't stay clean today, then I'm not going to be able to put together any length of clean time. And if I can stay clean today, then that's one more day that I am victorious over this insidious disease that's trying to kill me. So anyway, this is Roberto. I know that I've rambled for a long time, but I hope that there's people out there that are getting something out of this. And hopefully the next time I make one of these videos, I'll have a report of having some significant clean time. So if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I'm not on here much, but I'll find it eventually. I'll do what I can to help you. Just hang in there, fight the good fight. This is Roberto signing off.